Greetings. Today, I'm going to kind of talk about mom, but not talk about mom. I'm going to rant, but I'm not necessarily ranting. That sounds really confusing, doesn't it? Well, follow along with me, and we will get to where maybe I'll have a point. Actually, I do have a point. Let's see how this goes. Over the last couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I've been trying to find out when my mother might be coming home from the rehab facility. For those of you who've seen some of my other videos, my mother had a UTI back in March, a week after I had shoulder surgery. She went into the hospital for 6 days. She went to a rehab facility. The first 2 weeks, turns out they didn't do anything because they didn't know how to get her out of bed. So they asked me to come in to show them how to get her out of bed because mom doesn't sleep in the bed at home. Then they spent 2 weeks basically doing nothing or almost nothing. Mom gets discharged to home. The day after she's home, I'm taking her back to the hospital, to the emergency room. I'm not exactly sure what the hospital did, but mom improved drastically over those couple of days. And she's at a different facility getting rehab. And she's been there about 2 months. And the best thing I've been able to get out of them is that they have worked her and she's gotten stronger. And she can walk up to 100 feet at a time, which is really remarkable. But I haven't been able to get a lot of other things. I've spoken to this new social worker that they have, and she has never returned a call. I mean, if I've gotten her in the office, then she'll talk to me. If I ask her questions, she says, I'll get back to you on it. She never has. And the director of physical therapy, if I get him, he will talk to me. But if I don't get him, he's never returned a call. So today was the day where I decided, you know what, I've had enough of this. Someone's going to talk to me or there's going to be heck to pay. So I called, when did the first call? I called around noon and I asked for the social worker. They said, oh, she's off until next week. This is a holiday week, so that means next Tuesday. They said, but we may be able to give you someone else to talk to. So they give me a name. They transfer me to someone. It's not the person who they named. I tell this woman what I want. She says, oh, I mean, you have to talk to so-and-so. Who's the person I was supposed to get? About 15 seconds later, she comes on and says, well, we're going to transfer you to the director of PT. I could have started with him, but that's not who I necessarily wanted. But okay, fine. As long as someone tells me something. So I call physical therapy. Not there. I have to leave a message. So I leave a message, and the message I leave says that, okay, I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to call again at 2 o'clock. I call again right at 2 o'clock. And I get someone upstairs on the phone, and I say, I'd like to talk to Ryan. And then I get transferred down there, and I get the voicemail again. I say, okay, I'm going to call you back at 2:30. And I need someone to contact me. I need to talk to somebody. So I leave that message. 10 minutes later, I get a call from a guy named Dan. Dan ain't going to watch this, so it's okay. And so now he's telling me about mom, because I had been thinking that the director was the only person that was working with my mother on her physical therapy. It turns out Dan has been working a lot with my mother lately. I think that Ryan probably had mom, at least initially, you know, because he had to evaluate it because he's the director and did whatever. Then he passed it on to this other guy who's been doing a lot of the later work. And he starts off by saying to me, you know, your mom's not really improving all that much. I can't, you know, get her to kind of do this and whatever. And I said, well, you know, that's different than what Ryan had been telling me. Ryan had been telling me that she was really doing really well. He says, well, at a certain point she did really well, but it's kind of leveled off now. And, you know, I'm trying to, you know, talk her into doing things, and she's not always cooperative. And sometimes she fights us in the chair. And I said, you do realize she's got dementia, right? He says, well, oh yeah, I know she's got dementia. Okay, then you know that she's not going to listen to you. You basically have to coerce her. And he says, well, sometimes I can get her to hold on to the walker, but then I have to pull it in order to get her to walk. I said, yeah, that's how that works sometimes. That's how it almost always works at home. He says, oh, I didn't know that. I said, really? I told that to Ryan because I had called this guy the first day of the new week, because mom got transferred there on a Friday, I called very early Monday morning. I got the guy. I said, okay, I want to tell you about my mother. So I told him all this stuff about mom, how she's normal. Not how she was at the other facility, but how she was at home. I talked to him for about 20 minutes. I gave him a very detailed thing about mom and what I was looking for. Turns out that this guy had never heard any of that stuff from Ryan. I guess Ryan didn't put it in the medical record. This is one of my pet peeves once again. It should have been listed in either the medical record or the physical therapy records, so that when someone else comes in, they can read the record and they not only see what mom's progress has been, but stuff I've told them. So now, once again, I've got to tell a new guy everything. So I start telling him about mom. I said, you know, look, you have a problem in the bed because mom doesn't sleep in the bed. She didn't sleep in the bed at home for the last 4 years before she moved in with me. She sleeps in a reclining chair. He says, oh, I think I heard something about that. I said, yeah, so mom's already standing, so I don't have to get her up. I don't have to pull her up or anything. I said, as far as the walker goes, you know, most of the time, the lift chair lifts mom up. She holds on to it. I'm standing in front of her. I say, okay, let's go. And then we go. Every once in a while, she walks off on her own, but in general, she lets me guide her. And I watch her closely. And if it seems like she's a little tired, then I get behind her and I loop my arms around hers and I hold her hands. And then we walk. Is she walking okay? He said, oh yeah, she walks really fine. I said, okay, good. That's really what I'm looking for. If she's doing that, that's, you know, really supposed to do, you know, how it's supposed to be. And he says, well, I'm worried about the steps. I heard you have steps in the house. I said, yeah, I got 2 steps. I have 2 steps. I said, it's not necessarily a problem with her. She's scared of the steps. I understand that. But, you know, we go down the steps. We go up the steps. The only time I had a problem with her was the day that she came home after we found out that she had the UTI, and then the day she came from the other facility. He says, well, sometimes I can't get her to raise her leg high enough and she struggles. I said, okay, now here's another thing. Mom goes up the steps, but sometimes it could take up to 10 minutes. Sometimes she gets that leg up there. She's got a bad knee. He said, I didn't know that. I said, well, yeah, she's got an arthritic knee. So sometimes it takes her a while to get that leg up there, but that's okay. I'm good with that. I'm right behind her. She's not going to fall back. She's not going to fall forward. I'm right there. So I'll just wait for her. I said, come on, you've got this. You know, I give her encouragement. I know that we don't have the conversation. She doesn't always understand every single thing I say, but I think she gets the spirit of encouragement. Come on, you can do this. Come on, let's go. At least maybe that's how I think. So I tell him, yeah, this is what we do. And then coming down the steps, I'm not necessarily worried about her coming down the steps because she's coming toward me. She's a little scared, but you know, she's got something to put her hands onto, and we get this done. And you know, it was an interesting thing because I'm telling him these things. And he says, well, she just seems like she's so out of it all the time, like she's really tired. And I said, you know, she's not sleeping at night. He says, you know, I was wondering about that. I said, yeah, I've told everybody that. She doesn't sleep well at night. I said, when she's home, I give her melatonin in the evening, and then I give her CBD oil. I know you guys can't give her CBD oil, but this is what I do. She usually gets tired sometime between 6:30 and 7:30. So then she goes to bed. By giving her the CBD oil, she will sleep a little bit longer. But even with that, she will sometimes wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and just sit there and watch TV. Sometimes she will stay in bed till 7, or stay in the sleeper because I don't have a bed in there. I have another reclining lift chair. I said, but this is what she does. So if you're not giving her anything else, then most probably by the time you see her in the morning, whether it's before cereal or after cereal, she probably hasn't slept for like 4 or 5 hours. He says, well, I hadn't known that. I said, yeah. And you know what? She's feeding herself. He says, no, she's not. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, when I go in there in the morning, they're usually feeding her. She's not feeding herself. I said, yeah, well, I talked to the night nurse, the afternoon nurse who comes in there, and she's always telling me she's feeding herself. He says, really? I said, well, yeah, because now she, you know, you guys have done your business. You've left because he told me that he usually leaves around 3. I said, you've left, so you probably don't ever hear from the other people about how things are going in afternoon or the late, late afternoon, early evening. But yes, she is feeding herself dinner. She's giving herself dessert. He says, well, I didn't know any of that. I said, well, now you do. Like I said, I had told his director all of that stuff all the time. I had mentioned everything to everybody because I wanted people to know. And he says, well, I wish I'd talked to you sooner. I said, dude. And I actually said, dude. I said, I've been here. I've been waiting for people to call me. I've been calling, trying to check on my mother a lot. I know how the Medicare rules work in general. I know you've had her for about 60 days right now. You can keep her up to 100 as long as she's progressing. What I don't know, however, is how many days you actually have because she was at another facility first. If she, if you have to count that, then you're almost at your 100 days. You're getting close to having to send her home. Now, if you get the whole thing, then you could probably keep her into early August, but only if she's progressing. He says, well, yeah, there's things I can do now. I said, tell you what I'm going to do. Yes, I said what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to take you a couple of pictures. I'm going to take some pictures of the steps. It's only 2 steps. I want you to be able to see what she has to hold on to so she can walk down these steps because you cannot duplicate what I have. Trust me on that. I know that because I have seen how physical therapy works in other organizations and I saw it at the other place. You cannot duplicate what I have. So I'm going to send you that. I said, as long as she's walking, that's really my big thing. If she can walk, we've got this taken care of. He said, oh, because I was worried that maybe you wouldn't be able to take care of her. I said, dude, I've been taking care of her for 4 years. I know her. I know how to talk to her. I know what to do with her. Do we have perfect conversations? Not anymore. But she knows who I am. She will follow the instructions. And it's easy because the lift chair, I took a picture of that also. I said the lift chair, all she has to do is reach forward and put her hands on the walker and she's ready to go. And he said, I've never seen a lift chair, but I'd heard about them. I said, yeah. So she's good to go. So then he says, well, can I call you? Would you mind if I call you? And I'm going to see if I can talk Ryan into letting you come in with us so that you can see how she's doing and let me know if that's what you need or any other changes. I said, man, I've been telling those folks all along, yes, call me, let me come in. I said, they've never even let me see the room that she's in. They won't even let me really get closer. The 2 times I came, she was basically asleep and I had to stay 5 feet away from her behind a plexiglass. He says, well, I'm going to see what I can do. And if you don't mind, if I can call you, then I'd love to do that. But I'd love to see you come in and do something. I said, well, yeah, let's get this done. And that's how it left. I took my pictures. I emailed them to him. I put in the message, please let me know that you got these pictures. I haven't gotten that message yet. I just might have to call him tomorrow. Say, hey, did you get those pictures? And see how that goes. Now, where have I gone with this? Like I said, it was kind of a rant. It's kind of a story about mom. But what it's really a story about, and this goes everywhere, it's people who are not following processes that they shouldn't have to be told they have to follow. When I was director of patient accounting at 2 different hospitals, one of the things I used to tell the people who had to talk to patients is write down what they've said. Write down what happened. Did you solve their problem? If you did, put down in regular language what you did. If you didn't, or if you told them you're going to rebuild something, put that down so that if a call gets elevated to me, I can look at the notes and see what has happened. Y'all aren't doing that all the time, then I'm the guy who comes in here and I don't know what you've done. And we have to work as a team. If you're on vacation, someone else has to take a call for you, let's put these things down. And one of the other things I used to do is we would have meetings, regular meetings, and I would, write everything down. And then after the meeting, I would go back to my desk and I would type it out. I would type out everything that we talked about and give it to everybody. I said, keep a copy of this. I don't want anybody to ever say they didn't know that. If I know I mentioned it in a meeting, I want you to look at those notes all the time. And if we have processes and procedures that we need to know, then we're going to write out the processes so that if someone else comes in, they can say exactly how we do things. Because I'm not going to sit here and always think that my memory is going to be great at everything. It was pretty good, But, you know, at a certain point, if you're in a leadership position, you're not doing the daily work anymore. You may remember, you know, a lot of it, but you're not going to remember every single thing. And sometimes what you find out is your people find out that something has changed, but they don't tell everybody. They just kind of keep it to themselves. I didn't want that. And that was my thing here. You know, if you are a person in position of leadership, Ryan, you should have told Dan, if Dan is now taking care of my mother and working with her, you should have told him everything I said. If you didn't remember everything I said, then that's your fault, because I spent a lot of time talking to you about her. You should have been taking notes. You should have passed it on to Dan, and then Dan should not have been shocked when I told him stuff. At the same time, Dan's telling me my mother's not feeding herself. He doesn't know what happens after he leaves. Not paying attention. Mom wakes up. I told him, you know, yes, I have those periods of time with her. We both kind of have the same sleeping problems. So she wakes up in the middle of the night. She may sit there and watch TV. Then a lot of times on the day where she's staying home, I give her breakfast, and after breakfast, she may fall asleep for 2 or 3 hours. She may just only sleep an hour and a half, and then she's watching TV the rest of the day until later that evening. It's just the pattern, but you have to know what's going on overnight. He says, you know, you're right. I mean, I really don't know what's happening once I leave. I've never thought about asking anyone on the floors. You're in healthcare. You know, nurses don't remember everything. But when the nurse comes in, they're supposed to read the record of the patients who are still there, who aren't going home. And sometimes the ones who are going home. You need to know what's going on. And that's why you chart everything. And in almost every single business, you should be charting something. As an independent consultant, if I'm doing work for someone else, when I was on the road, I charted everything. Once every week, I wrote down the progress. This is what I did this week. This is what these folks did this week, so that we could always track it, so that no one can come back later on and say, well, did you talk to these people about this? Did you talk about these people like this? Because I gave them the report. That's just what you do. If you're a professional, if you're someone who cares about getting the job done correctly, if you care that the people around you, whether you're in leadership or not, are going to do the processes right, you sometimes have to write everything down. You have to track it. You need to know what's going on. And sometimes if you're just an employee who wants to be a leader, you're doing that so that you can see what everyone else is doing. So you can say, okay, good. Now I know where they are. I can be better. Anyway, that's what this is today. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Let me know what you think of stuff like this. If you've had any issues with your family members and healthcare and issues, let me know. Y'all take care.